And welcome, everybody, to another edition, another week, Southern Wrestling Hot Topics and News, the podcast. The magazine is now officially out. It's available on Amazon Kindle, and I want to say thank you to all of our supporters, sponsors, and friends that have been buying that thing, especially all you fans out there. Y'all are making it possible. Thank you for helping us help indie wrestling. We really appreciate it. Keep those sales up, baby. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. And hard copies are going to be available real soon. So all you folks that are in it, yeah, you'll have something to frame, put up on the wall, show your kids one day. There you go. Of course, you all know who I am at this point. It's me. It's Cowboy Cliff Rogers, back for another week of hosting duties. And, of course, I've been on the road, I've been bumping, I've been getting sore, but I can't complain because our next guest, I'm about to bring him on right now, ladies and gentlemen, the one and only, the All-American Blue Chipper, Mr. Chase Emery. Chase, what's going on, baby?
How you doing, man?
Oh, man. Well, you know, I just got done saying I've been running the roads, I've been bumping, but that is nothing compared to your busy schedule, my friend. You are a hot commodity right now in indie wrestling. How's that feel?
Oh man, I'm trying. That's what I always tell the people. I'm trying. Trying to stay busy. All over the Southeast right now. Let's see. Last weekend or 2 weekends ago, I was up in Kentucky, Tennessee. This weekend I got Virginia. I'll be in West Virginia next week. So I'm based out in North Carolina, but I'm all over the place.
Have car, will travel, right?
Right.
There you go. Well, folks, if you've never heard of Chase Emery before, I'm telling you, look the guy up. He's very talented, very athletic. I met you one time before, and that's actually how I knew to bring him on the show here. Y'all have heard me talk about Ultimate Victory Wrestling before. They're based down in Florida, and they do have some tapings coming up on Right Now TV, so keep an eye out for that. They had a big one-night tournament. And this guy here just about got the clean sweep. I've never seen anything like it. What'd you do, like 4 or 5 matches in one night?
Man, I was going to say, I can't remember at this point. It might have been 5.
Yeah.
I think it might be 5 because I had the one where I wrestled and then literally went right into another match.
Yeah, I think it was like a run-in on the victory promo. And they were just like, ring the bell, start it. And I'm like, oh, wow, okay, turn around. Okay. So, the rest of us are in catering. We got a beer in the hand. We're eating a pile of spaghetti. We're like, oh, yeah, man, how was your match? And I'm like, where's Chase? Oh, what do you mean, where's Chase? He's still out there. So,
he's still out there.
Man. Well, anyway, I can't wait to dive into your background and all that there. Like I say, this podcast and magazine was founded by the great James Beard, legendary referee. He was from the Von Erichs territory, WCCW. He's done some work in Japan, NWA. I mean, you name it. He's been there. And nowadays he helps with TSW and my home turf, UWE, down in Louisiana. And so he came up with the idea to kind of shed more of a spotlight on the indies, and that's exactly what we're doing. And, when I watch your tapes and when I keep up with you on social media and when I follow you these days, one thing that really sticks out to me about Chase Emery is, man, you are a callback to the AWA days. You know that? I'm sure you've gotten that before, but
yeah,
you're like a modern rendition of that AWA wrestling. Very old school. I mean, your finish is a neck breaker. You don't see guys use that very often as a finish. Back body drops, drop kicks. That's about as fancy. But what you do very well, and you really sharpen that up to where I tell younger guys all the time, I've been in 3 years. How long have you been in?
Right at 5.
5, okay. So you've got a little leg up on me there. But I tell rookie guys that are like still in training, I said, quit worrying about what moves you're going to do. Quit worrying about what you want to do. Do something better than everybody else. And now it's yours. Now it's yours. You look at the arm drag. Who, my opinion, greatest arm drag ever, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Yeah, absolutely.
He didn't have to add a flip or nothing to it. He just did that arm drag so well. That's Ricky's move. So, you're kind of like, a breath of fresh air, really, in a world full of false finishes and a world full of too many super kicks. You are a breath of fresh air, man. So, well, I know about you. I've met you, but our viewers really haven't. So just kind of tell us, how did Chase Emery get started? Who trained you? Where are you from? Well, we know you're in North Carolina, but tell us your story here, man.
Yeah, man. So I'm from Western North Carolina, up in the mountains around
Okay.
that area. About an hour west of Charlotte and an hour east of Asheville. Um, so where I got trained in Charlotte, North Carolina, by Lodi, who was in WCW, and then Arn Anderson also helped train me because when I first started, he has a son, Brock Anderson,
Oh
who
yeah.
we started around the same time, and we're about same height, same weight. We're built kind of the similar, and we just made for good training partners.
So you were really kind of able to kind of sponge it up there when Papa Arn is getting his boy ready for TV, and
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and you need somebody to work with. Emery, come on, get in here.
right.
So
Yeah, I jump in there, man, and a lot of it, because I started in late 2019, 2020, everything was shut down, not a
yeah,
lot of shows running. So all I did was train. I got that good solid foundation of training all the time. And then when, around 2021, when shows started happening again, that's when I, jumped in the car and started, my goal was to wrestle every weekend. And that's really when, the training that built that foundation, but being in front of a live crowd and, you know, wrestling in front of a crowd, that really, you get those reps. That really is what makes or breaks you.
yeah,
Because you can be the best wrestler in training and do all the moves right. You can do a drop kick perfect and an arm drag perfect, but if you can't go out there in front of the crowd and be able to work, then you're not going to make it.
yeah. That's true. Live fans, especially the heckling marks out there.
Right.
God bless them. We need the heckling marks sometime because that's how you get you. I mean, that's really how you thicken up your skin right there.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
I know when I started, it was down here in Louisiana. I'm a Texan by nature and all that, but I started wrestling in Louisiana in 2021. So, so kind of right after the world kind of turned back on, and
Right.
I remember the little town, the little town that we ran in for my debut was a little place called Gina, Louisiana, and they hadn't had wrestling there in forever. I mean, I don't think they'd ever had it. So they were just pumped to see some. So didn't have
Yeah.
to be great. They were happy it was there. But boy, let me tell you, they were there just like when you come out of that curtain, if you didn't show them something, crickets, crickets.
Right.
And I've seen some big loaded up guys, come out there and just fall like a house of cards. They're like,
Yeah.
it's not working, it's not working. I'm like, well, give them something to, work them, baby, and but that, like you said, much easier said than done, man. I remember in my debut, I talk about it all the time. In my debut, I had all these moves, and I wrestled my trainer, Dapper Danny Davis, and I was like, yeah, coach, I think I'm gonna work in the old sidewalk slam, maybe a power slam. Oh, and definitely drop kick. And he's like, okay, call it. Didn't remember none of it.
Yeah.
Didn't just because you're just so petrified of like, okay, just go punch him. Just keep punching. I think that's all I did in my debut was just straight striking. I mean, that's all I could think to do. So, yeah, and so not only did you get those reps in early, but would I haven't been to that territory yet as a worker. Would you say it's a pretty good little hotbed up there? A lot of shows.
Oh yeah, the Carolinas. Man, there's a lot of talent in the Carolinas. You have a lot of promotions, especially in North Carolina. I know there's new promotions popping up every day. South Carolina has a commission, so there's not as many shows. North Carolina's the Wild Wild West. I can buy a ring right now and set it up in the backyard and start Chase Emery wrestling promotion. And but South Carolina, it's more strict, so less promotions. But there's a lot of good talent down there, a lot of good shows. Um, I work a lot in South Carolina, and made a lot of connections, made a lot of friends, and they've helped me, um, get to different places and work different people.
Absolutely. And, for fans and stuff watching this that, they're really curious at how the inner workings work. We know the indies are much, much different. You know this, much different than anything on network television. There's no, everything's a verbal agreement.
Right.
Everything's, yeah, kid, we'll call you, and they probably won't call you.
Right.
There's no legal binding contract guaranteeing you anything. And I'm going to say to any young wrestlers out there, if an indie promoter wants you to sign a contract, run.
Yeah.
Run. Don't ever do that. I almost fell in that snake hole one time. I was a year
Don't do
in.
it.
Yeah, I actually signed it and then immediately regretted it. And a friend of mine that was a lawyer said, "Oh, it's okay. In the state of Texas, you have a 24-hour halo." So I called him right back and was like, "Tear it up. I'm out."
Yeah.
So yeah, don't ever let somebody nail you to the floor like that. But yeah, it's such a fickle thing. It's always been fickle. It's the wrestling business, but you know, just because you go get those reps, you could put on a great match, but if you don't pass the eye test or if you don't pass the trust test, those connections aren't going to do anything for you. You're one of those guys though that I saw as soon as I showed. Well, first of all, when I saw you on the poster and I saw your physique and all, I'm like, okay, yeah, he's a wrestler. Okay, and then we get to the show, and man, you dressed nice, but you didn't overdress it.
Yeah.
Very respectful guy. You shook everyone's hand, and you were more than happy to do whatever the commissioner, whatever the booker wanted you to do. And so, it's not so much about just going, showing up, and shaking hands, but really, really having a little bit of business sense about you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Would you say that was kind of a taught thing, or is that just you?
It's probably a little bit me, but it's also me being around pros in the business. Looking at guys. If we get a name or something come in, looking at them, how they do business, that type of thing. How do they act in the locker room? And I kind of pattern myself after them.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, coming from your pedigree, getting trained by Arn, you've worked with Lodi, of course.
Hmm.
I've seen you not only were trained by him a little bit, but you've worked him several times,
Yep. Yeah, we've
and
wrestled, played everything.
yeah. And then Mark Jindrak is another guy that I see
Yeah.
that you tag team up with these days.
Yeah.
The long lost evolution guy that some people might remember being in those vignettes and all. But
Yeah.
Jindrak was a beast back in the older WWE days. The Attitude Era, or kind of towards the end of the Attitude, kind of going into Ruthless Aggression era, is where you'll find some Jindrak tapes. And
Oh, he's still a beast, man. You should, dude. He's ginormous.
yeah, oh yeah, loaded up, as we like to say, loaded up. But yeah, just in your young career, getting to be around those guys,
Yeah.
that speaks volumes right there of not just like, this is happening for me, cool. No, you're like, this is happening for me, so how do I keep it happening? What's he doing? What's he doing that I don't need to do? Because
Exactly.
you know, in my experience, you said that North Carolina is the Wild West. Well, that's Texas for us. Yeah, Texas is the Wild West where you're going to run into plenty of great, and Mississippi as well. I've done a lot of work out there and met some vets, and you got guys like Heidenreich. I don't know if you remember him or not.
He's still around.
Oh
Is he?
yeah. He's still somewhat around. I know a couple years ago he was still pretty active. These days, not so much. But I wasn't there for it, so I can't really speak too heavily on it. But yeah, he's one of those guys. He might show up, he might not. He might call you
Mhm.
the last minute and ask for an extra 500, or he's not coming. So remember, guys, when you hang around vets, some of them you're going to learn a lot of what not to do.
Yeah.
There's a guy named Black Bart. Now I know you've heard of him, and he he wanted to take me on and be my manager for a while when I was still young, and I just remember that probably it just wasn't the right time for that because
Right.
I was at that point in my career where, and we'll get into this in a little bit, but I was at that delicate stage of my career where you don't say no to anybody. You go get your
Yeah.
reps, and I couldn't have a manager that demanded 1,200 for the pair. I was like,
Right.
hey
Yeah.
man, look, I can't be picky like that right now. Let me get out there and screw up and learn from it.
Yeah.
But anytime you want to book me, feel free. And he did. Still have a very good working relationship with Black Bart. In fact, about a year or so ago, I went and did a fundraiser show for him to help raise some money for his medical bills. So anytime I can help somebody like that out, I do. But sometimes, guys, you have to kind of have your mental filter going of what to keep, what not to keep. But
Absolutely.
yeah, it looks like you were doing all the things right there. When did you say your career really kind of started picking up red hot, and you were pretty much in demand?
Well, it kind of started. Let's see, in late 2020, when a couple of things started opening back up. I started getting some bookings in South Carolina. Started doing some shows, and I was just a new face, fresh face that promoters were like, all right, we this guy has never wrestled around here, and let's bring him on and see what he's got. So I got a few bookings from that, and then 2021, that was I was consistently booked all year, and then in 2022, I got some opportunities to do some extra work with bigger promotions. I did a AEW dark match,
Oh
and
wow,
then um, against actually the guys who just won the tag titles. I wrestled a Private Party on a dark match,
sweet. Okay.
and then, I was supposed to do two Friday Night Smackdowns, but I ended up having an injury. To where I couldn't do those. But yeah, man, that was kind of that mid 2020. Because I remember I wrestled Eric Rowan when he was out of WWE. I wrestled him in Georgia um, in a main event of a promotion, and I was going to do some WWE extra work. So like that was kind of when I started thinking, okay, I'm actually getting some attraction. Like some people are wanting to use me. Um, so about that mid 2022 uh, is when I started recognizing that.
And then once the momentum starts rolling, it's rolling, it's going. So you always kind of have to make sure that day job, family life, all that can handle the pressure because
Right.
in the wrestling business there is no guys, just not right now, but hit me back in July and I got you.
Yeah.
They've
Yeah.
already filled that spot 4 times over, by the
Right.
time that's happened. So, well, man, I hate to hear that you had to pass on SmackDown due to an injury. That is I mean, for me, that would have been Depression City right there. You
Yeah.
know,
It was hard. It was hard because I remember a friend of mine actually had tickets to that SmackDown. He was like, "Hey, man, I know you're not going to be on the show, but would you want to come watch it with me?" I said, "No, I don't
no,
want to go."
no, but because that just makes you feel even worse because
Yeah.
you got the Dolph Ziggler syndrome. That should have been me. And it quite honestly should have.
And really, like, my mindset was I wasn't like, "Oh, I can't wait to go on and you know I'm going to be the superstar," that gets on SmackDown and then that type of thing. It was more like, hey, I want to learn the system. I want to be in the locker room. If I don't, if I just sit and have to watch, that's what I'll do. But if I get a chance to go out there, I will. But I just wanted to learn and like be okay. What's the best promotion in America? What's their locker room like? And how do I need to pattern myself even more to be like that?
See, that's the right attitude right there. Genius, genius. It was a learning trip, and
Right.
so I hate to dig at old scars here, but like was it a guaranteed match or was it just that? Was it like a hey, come hang out, and if we need you, we need you?
Well, I was going to do. So I think they were called. I don't know if they're still attacking the Viking Raiders.
Yep.
I was going to do a match with them, which it was going to be like a match to get the Viking Raiders more over,
Yeah.
but still I'd have been on TV.
Yeah, and to a wrestler, there's no shame in this at all.
Right.
You look at me, I would give a kidney to be that, but the you'd have been one of those guys that when you're watching SmackDown, we come back from commercial, you hear the big Viking horn, here they go, and then they make their way to the ring, and then they cut to you, and oh yeah, and by the way, already in the ring from North
Right.
Carolina, Chase Emery, and then
Right. Right. Right.
but hey, no, like I say, there's, I know a lot of fans out there that aren't familiar with the business. They're just like, "Oh, it sucks to be that guy," and I'm like, "No, it does not." I mean, you've got guys that they will pay to go. They don't even want to get paid off that. They just want to be on that screen. I've worked several great guys that I've met several great guys. I've worked one guy that was that guy, Jeremy Young. He's another cowboy. At the time, he wasn't, but I mean, this would have probably been '06, '07, '08. That he was a pretty regular enhancement talent like that, and
Cool.
he would always, when we had our feud in Louisiana, he would always bring me in the back when it was over, and just be like, "All right, that was good, but if you ever want to do something like that, this is what they're going to pick you apart on. This, that, and this. I've been there. This doesn't fly. They're going to give you a script. You better memorize it. Blah, 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 blah." So, yeah, but, hearing it from one guy's one thing, being there's another. So,
Right.
yeah, definitely valuable there. But, it looks like you landed on your feet and rolled back from that pretty well. Like I say, I've seen you work Tokyo Monster Gahagas. I've seen you work several other guys that have the NWA rub. Man, talk to us real quick about Gahagas. I got to know, what's it like working Gahagas?
Oh, he's intense, man. He's old school. He's intense, and he hits very hard. Um, he don't take no crap, that type of thing. He's gonna make you earn everything he gives you. He's not just gonna give free handouts. You got to earn it.
Absolutely. Well, see, the reason I ask is because I was on a show with him in Gilmer, Texas, and he was working another old school legend, Mark Valiant. Used to go under Mark Von Erich, and people thought that there was some beef there. They thought that maybe Gahagas was upset he wasn't going over. Maybe he didn't like the fact that it was a Von Erich or something, or a
Right.
pseudo Von Erich. But no, I mean, I remember watching that going, oh. I mean, I've to this day, I don't think I've ever seen somebody deliver a chop so hard it broke the skin.
Mm.
Mark gets back, and it looks like Dracula's gotten after him. He's dripping, and I'm like,
Uh,
"Whoa, dude!" And he's like, "Yeah, it happens." And so of course I'm getting my gear packed up, and I'm like, "All right, proceed with caution." And I'm like, "Hey, Tokyo, what happened out there?" And he goes, "Oh, nothing, man. I mean, that's just how I work." I'm like,
yeah.
"Good to know, good to know." But yeah, I've been in the ring with Alex Porto, the Pug, and cut from that same cloth.
Right.
He'll give you some stuff, but I was throwing my punches on him, and of course you hear, "Come on, kid, you can do better than that." Flips me
Right.
around
Right.
in the corner, lightning strike, and I'm like, "Oh, that's what he's wanting." He's like,
Yeah.
"Reverse me, give it back." And then, so of course, I put my ass into it, boom, and he's like, "There you go, boy, yeah, come on." So some guys are just into that, that football mentality, and
Right. Right.
I think that's what makes the business. I think that's what makes it colorful, and I think as a fan, that you're really giving them their money's worth, and
Yeah.
that's the people that make it possible. Send them home
Right.
happy.
Absolutely.
So talk to us a little bit more about kind of your origin here. I said that you're a callback to that retro style, that AWA late '70s, early '80s look and style. What kind of made you want to go that direction? Was that just how you moved, or was that just something you'd always wanted to do, or what?
For before I got into pro wrestling, I did amateur wrestling for 13 years.
Wow.
So I really learned. I feel like it really helped me with how I am able to get in position for certain things, how I move in the ring. I remember Arn Anderson telling me in training one time that I have really good ring awareness and like being able to position myself in certain spots in the ring for a young guy. He told me that was kind of rare to see, and I really credit that to amateur wrestling. So I think having that and using a lot of amateur wrestling stuff when I wrestle, it kind of gives it a throwback style. Hitting fireman carries, just shooting in the leg, that type of half Nelsons, just doing basic stuff. That's all I'm doing is basic stuff, and really I kind of keep doing that because I truly believe what's old is new. Um, so like sometimes you don't see moves and stuff and all this old stuff that was used 30 40 years ago, and then somebody sees it now that's never watched that stuff, like, man, that's I've never seen that before, that's creative, but hey, it was used 40 years ago.
Absolutely. I actually learned the other day, Cody Rhodes, the crossroads, that was actually something that Test used to pull out in like
Yeah,
the late '90s. It's guys, it's a rolling cutter at the end of the day. It's just a modified rolling cutter, but you know, one of those obscure things to where if you just don't happen to come across it on YouTube or anything, you're like, whoa,
right.
wait a minute, yeah. So, yeah, absolutely, and plus I mean, I'm sure with amateur wrestling, you don't go to that buffer zone like a lot of us did, to where okay, how am I going to get from this hold to that hold? It's kind
Yeah,
of just like I mean, 13-year amateur career is like breathing to you at this point, right?
yeah, yeah.
So,
It's it's a tough sport, man. Amateur wrestling, there's nothing. I'll say this, and people ask me what's the difference between amateur and pro wrestling. Amateur wrestling is tougher, but pro wrestling is more dangerous. You're more likely to get injured or hurt doing a professional wrestling match.
yes. Even though it's a choreographed dance where we're working with each other, uh, the stuff you're gonna do is things you'd never. I mean, hell. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here. Picking someone up and slamming them in an amateur match is illegal, correct?
You say legal or illegal?
Illegal.
It depends on the type of slam. So if you, let's say in like folk style wrestling, which is only wrestling in America, if you pick somebody up and you slam them without control, then you will get penalized. It's illegal. But if you can pick somebody up and with control, meaning I got them, I'm not just throwing them across the mat. I got them and I bring them down hard. That's perfectly legal. When you get to different styles like freestyle and Greco-Roman wrestling, which are like international styles, America does it too. But like at every country, they all do freestyle or Greco-Roman. They don't do folk style. That's like folk style is the type of collegiate style you see on college wrestling.
Uh,
Um, but in like freestyle, you'll see people in Greco-Roman, you'll see them throwing, over their head, people getting launched.
so, yeah, that would kind of explain then a lot of your guys that are able to make it to that Olympic level, and they're
Yeah,
competing on a world stage. That I mean, like guys like Kurt Angle using a shoot German, an actual Olympic German,
right.
that would be legal there, because
Absolutely.
you have to kind of fit the mold of the world.
Hmm.
Sweet, sweet. See, I'm learning something here too, folks. An old cowboy from Texas learning how to shoot wrestle over here. So, me. I used to do a little steer wrestling in high school and stuff, and people ask me all the time, "Did that get you ready for it?" I'm like, "Dude, that is like apples and oranges, pal."
Yeah. Amateur wrestling's not big in Louisiana, is it?
Not no. Texas, there's some.
Yeah, Texas is pretty good in amateur wrestling. How far are you from Mississippi?
Ended up spending a lot of childhood here as well in Louisiana, and Mississippi probably about a good 2 3 hours.
See, unless it's changed, but last time I heard, Mississippi is the only state in America that doesn't have amateur wrestling at like high schools and stuff.
Well, actually, up until about 2 3 years ago, that would have been correct, or
That
yeah, yeah. But nowadays,
finally got
in
it.
Only like kind of like the private schools and stuff,
Okay.
really. Private schools and down south Louisiana, New Orleans, those kind of areas, you'll find some of it. When I did a little bit of high school in Louisiana, I went to a little Grant Parish 4A high school, and
Hmm.
we had a baseball coach that was originally from New Orleans. And when he was telling us he was an amateur wrestler and stuff, we're like, no way, dude. You're come on. That's not a thing here. And he's like, oh
Right.
no. He goes, believe it or not, there's you go down south, and so we barely had enough to kind of count it. But the reason why it wasn't a bigger deal was because it would have cost the schools so much money in gas and everything because your nearest opponent would have been 3.5, 4, 5 hours away,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
just to have a meet at your school, the mats, all that stuff, that's tens of thousands of dollars right there.
Yeah.
So you know, like people always say, when you get on this Gulf Coast, football is king.
Right.
Football and baseball is king. Soccer, it kind of has a place down here now. Soccer's gotten very popular,
Cool.
and like I say, the private schools have picked it up and run with it. So something that I was always real jealous about. I always wanted to be an amateur style wrestler as a kid because I loved WWE, and I wanted to have a leg up on it when my
Right.
master plan started coming together of getting to do it. So I had to settle for football and a little bit of rodeo here and there, and you know, I think it worked out okay for me. But yeah, anytime I can meet a guy like you that's a shooter, and I can learn more about that because I'm kind of a big mark for that stuff. I've always wanted to, figure out. And I mentioned earlier Jeremy Young. Oddly enough, I just said we had a little bit of it here in Louisiana back in the day. He's from Shreveport, Louisiana,
Okay.
and which is more North Louisiana, and they had it. And of course, it was like them and maybe one other school, so that's kind of who they probably wrestled all the time. But
Mm.
but he had the shooter background, and he'd teach me a little bit of how to
Yeah.
transition from hold to hold a little more smoothly and things
Look,
like that.
I've met some younger guys in pro wrestling who are like 16 and are already just like wanting to get in. I'm like, hey, dude, you're still in high school. Go and like join your wrestling team and like look. You don't have to be the world's greatest wrestler. Just go and get some of that knowledge, get some of that mat wrestling skills, and then pro wrestling's going to be here when you get out of high school. Amateur wrestling's not. So go get those skills and then come back.
Exactly.
You know, most of the time they're wanting to jump off the top and do all that crazy stuff. But I think if they get that skills, man, that's a good foundation to have.
Well, and I'm sure you know a little more about this, or you can attest to it. But the cardio factor there,
Oh yeah.
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 See,
So
go ahead.
so I started after my college career was over, and I started pro wrestling after that. I was probably cardio wise the best shape ever. Like I remember, you could not get me blown up in a wrestling ring just because I was so used to that wrestling, especially in college. The cardiovascular you have to do is insane. So, yeah, I remember at first pro wrestling, the cardio, it was easy for me. I could do, run the ropes forever. It seemed like.
Well, and that is the thing from a guy that coming from when I started my sports career had been over for a while. I
Mhm.
hadn't played football in at least 10 years. Other than no pads, playing around in college. Intramural flag league stuff like that. And even then, it's a bunch of drunk frat guys out there having fun. So
Right.
you know I tell people, they're like, man, I bet the bump was the hardest thing. I'm like, actually, no, hitting those ropes is going to be what makes you tap out faster than anything else.
Yeah, hitting the ropes is a hard thing to do.
Well, especially with the fact that it's a rope. It's not an elastic strap.
Right.
It's not a shoelace. I mean, hey, it's a nylon rope with some tape on it. So
Yeah.
I had
That ring,
coworker. Go ahead.
that physical man. It's a physical ring.
I had some coworkers think that I was in a bad life situation. They thought maybe I was in an abusive relationship or something because we were changing in a locker room one time at work, and I popped my shirt off, and they're like, "Oh my God, dude, have you been getting whipped, like beat on?" I'm like, "Nah, it's pro wrestling training, it's what happens."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Whoa, that's cool," but I'm like, "Yeah," I said, hitting those ropes, pow, 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 and right on your back. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure with your amateur background, again, that was probably the only thing you kind of had to get used to was that physicality.
Yeah. Going back to where I said, wrestling's more dangerous than or pro wrestling's more dangerous than amateur wrestling. More contact as well. I kind of because I played a little bit of football too, and the physicality of the contact's more similar to football because amateur wrestling you're more grappling. There's still some contact, but not as much as in pro wrestling or football.
Whereas, amateur, you're kind of just looking for that moment. You're looking for your opening. It's kind
Yeah.
of like a mental chess match going on in
Right.
there. Whereas with wrestling, we're going in there 100 miles an hour, baby, guns out, giving the people what they came to see.
Yeah. Putting on a show. We're getting what they want.
There you go. Well, man, look, that was no surprise to me as soon because when I first met you, didn't know anything about you other than just your face on the poster, and
Right.
I was like, oh Lord, I said if they put me with this cat, I mean, I'm gonna have to really do some squats there. He's a pretty beefy old boy here. I'm gonna have to really get low for these Germans I do and stuff. But then when I saw how far you were going in the tournament, we were like the gas tank on this guy. And then you got to explaining to me your college, not just amateur, but college amateur background. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, no wonder. Okay, all right, there's the answer. So tell us, man, the work ethic and stuff. What's one of the craziest weekends you've had as far as turnaround goes?
Well, I mean that weekend I met you was pretty crazy. I was in South Carolina Friday night, drove down that night somewhere in Georgia, spent the night, and then I was in Florida that day, and then drove. Um, left after the show. We left late. Late. We got out there really late, and then I had to go through a different time zone. And I lost an hour because I went.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, so had to drive back up to South Carolina. This time I was in Charleston. That was a long drive, and made it to Georgia. I forget what time it was, probably around 5 or 6 a.m. And I remember I was just so tired. I pulled over, slept for a couple hours. I didn't know where I was at, somewhere in Georgia, and then kept going. That was a crazy one. A couple weeks ago, I did two shows. Um, one, actually, I'll start that Thursday. So Thursday night, I wrestled in Jenkins, Kentucky.
Wow.
Um, Jenkins, Kentucky. So,
Which is
which is
also
not
a commissioned state, right?
Kentucky is a commission state, so I have a Kentucky license, which is actually not that far from me. It was about close to 4 hours,
Mm-hmm.
which in pro wrestling is actually not that far,
No.
a few hours. So it's actually right there. Once you go through Virginia and then you pass the state line to Kentucky, it's literally right there. We wrestled at a high school. Um, And then Saturday, I had to be in Ashland, Kentucky. Well, I still have a regular job, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a PE teacher at a school.
Oh, you don't say. The wrestler's a PE coach. Look at that.
I love my job. So you think, oh, if he wrestles up there Thursday, spend the night on Friday or something, and he's already up there. No, I came all the way back home Thursday night, got up early, was at school the next morning on Friday morning. And then that Saturday, I had a show in Ashland, Kentucky, which is up there near Ohio. That's like way up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, about 6 hour drive. Had to be there. Call time was 11.
A.M.
Yeah,
Oh.
because the show was at 1 o'clock. It was an early show.
Oh. Yeah.
So
Brother.
I woke up at 5 a.m. No, I woke up like 4:30 and then left by 5 a.m. And then luckily, with no traffic, I sped a little bit, got the time on the GPS to go down, and I made it. Wrestled at 1 o'clock. Right after I wrestled, jumped in the car because I had to be in Kingsport, Tennessee that night, which is about 3.5 hour drive. And then I wrestled that night, in Tennessee, and then drove home, which is about 2.5 hours.
Brother.
And then woke up the next day, and this is funny. Woke up the next day thinking, all right, I've had, because I had two matches that night in Tennessee, one match in Kentucky, so I had 4 matches basically that weekend. Thinking, all right, good weekend. A little tired. I'll have Sunday. I'll rest today. I'll sleep in, which I did, but then get a message. This guy's running in Greenville, South Carolina, which is about an hour from where I live. Can you make it? Yeah, I'll be there. Wrestled 2 matches somewhere, in Greenville, South Carolina. Just didn't know it was going to happen until I had to be there at 4. I didn't know it was even happening until 2 o'clock. So get there, get my boots on, wrestle 2 matches, head home that night.
Yep. Thank you. Here's my money. Yep. See ya.
Exactly. That's how it is. I'll share one more story of another pretty crazy. And I had a buddy come to this one with me. His name's Christopher Prince. I remember he came and picked me up from school so my school got out on Thursday. We drove up to West Virginia, wrestled that night, and we had another show Friday night, so we stayed the night in West Virginia, wrestled in West Virginia on Friday night, and then Saturday had to be in South Carolina. Me and him both, we did all 3 of these shows together. We stayed in West Virginia that Friday night, woke up in West Virginia on Saturday, drove down to South Carolina, wrestled, and then we split up some because the next day we had to be in North Carolina. That Sunday we was in North Carolina. So we split up, went home, slept in our beds that night, and then wrestled in North Carolina Sunday night. And those are the fun ones too. Those are when you got those loops with your buddies, those were like some memories are made.
See, I was about to say it's way more fun when you got a carload.
Oh, absolutely.
For me, I hail from Austin, Texas, but these days I live in Central Louisiana, and so for us, our Kentucky and North Carolina, South Carolina, our loops pretty much consist of Texas, Mississippi, Arkansas, Florida. So we're kind of more going in like a straight line and back and forth, east west, and a big one for us, like as far as time goes, would be Dallas. There's a spot over there in Dallas that'll some of my brothers go to, and I'll hop in with them sometime. And because as a wrestler, even if you're not booked, you're trying to hustle some up, grab your gear, shake your hand.
What promotion is that? Because I've wrestled in Dallas a few times.
NTW, North Texas Wrestling.
I've heard of it. I've wrestled for Christian Wrestling Federation out there.
Oh, wait, yeah, me too, bro.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it's called Sword Championship Wrestling in Dallas.
Yeah, I heard of that one. Yep.
Bobby Horn, he runs that. Actually, I think it was when I met you in July, like the week after that, he flew me out. I wrestled in Texas that next weekend.
Man, ain't that great getting flown?
Oh yeah, it's fun.
Oh, see, that's when you feel like Flair, you hanging out, not a care in the world. Man, yeah, hadn't. I mean, every time I have the chance to fly, I do, but hadn't been flown by a promoter just yet. Still looking to go there, but we're still pounding the road there. But yeah, dude, Christian Wrestling Federation, I've done some stuff for them. Great guys, sweet guys, and man, people, when they hear about that thing existing, and they're just like, well, how's that work? And I'm like, what do you mean, how's it work? It's wrestling, ain't it? I mean, you might not see any blood. You're not going to hear a dirty promo, but I mean, it's wrestling, so, and I've met some, I've met some great talent there, and then I've gotten to know some talent that worked with me in Louisiana that I ran into there again that, I got to actually work with because, I wasn't booked against them here, but I got booked against them there kind of
Yeah.
thing. So, oh, yeah, great promotion there. I've talked about them before on the show. Guys, check them out, CWF, and they've been around 25 years, so they're doing something right,
Yeah.
if you can survive that long. But yeah, Dallas is a pretty long haul, but probably the longest haul I've done with the buddies is Florida. Not just that one with you, but I'd done another one for Ultimate Victory in another town called Defuniak Springs, which wasn't quite as far. It's kind of more like on the mouth of Florida. It's not very far from Pensacola, and
Right.
and then let's see, I did another one at the mouth of Florida there for DCW Diamond Championship Wrestling. But those are fun because the road stories keep you awake, keep you laughing.
Yeah.
You pull over and rib one of the guys, you leave them at the gas station for a good 10 minutes. Watch them freak out. What is your secret to staying awake on these trips? Do you have an energy drink of choice, anything like that?
I really like the Zoas by The Rock, his energy drink.
Okay.
You drunk those? Have you had?
I have not found a Zoa yet. No. Louisiana, I guess, must be anti-rock because I can't find them.
You can find them at does Louisiana? Do y'all have GNC or like Vitamin Shop?
Yes.
You can find them there. And then like gas station wise, we have Quick Trip QT. Do y'all have any of those?
No, I don't have those. No.
No, you can find them there around the southeast, and then we have them at Sheets in like North Carolina. They sell them.
Okay.
But I'll drink those, man. And it's funny. Like on the way to shows, what I do is I listen to podcasts, like wrestling podcasts. So I think we're blessed to have, like 30 years ago, you learned in the car. Which I mean, you still learn the car, but like you got somebody who is a veteran. You listen to them. Well, luckily we have those podcasts, and those guys are making podcasts. So our generation, I can, be in my car by myself, but I have Arn Anderson on the radio, talking about wrestling, and I'm learning on the way to the show. That's what I'm doing. But then it's funny because on the way back, if it's late at night, I'm blaring rock music and trying to stay awake and
there you go.
thing.
Man, my tag team partner, Gatekeeper, one half of the Desperados, he came with us to that Florida trip, and that right there is my favorite road buddy, not just because he's my tag partner, but because the guy is just, I guess he was a trucker in a past life or something, but he does not stop, and he can't stop, and his reasoning is, he's like, brother, I'm like a train, okay, if we derail the momentum, it's not going to be too good for anybody involved because I will start falling asleep. So, like, I'll offer to take over driving, and he's like, no, please don't. I'm already going. Just hang out. So, all right, yes, sir. But I can't sleep because we just have so much fun talking. We'll keep each other laughing and stuff, and then we kind of we'll put a podcast on. We'll listen to it for a minute, and then we'll pause it and be like, oh my God, and then we'll talk a little bit here and there. But I remember he was with us at Ultimate Victory, and when we saw your workload. And then we saw that you were still there doing interviews and stuff as we're leaving, and we're expecting you to come join us at the B&B. The promoter for that, Norm Kaiser, he bought an Airbnb for some of the talent. He had it, class act promoter.
Oh yeah.
He had a couple cases of beer waiting on us at the Airbnb. His wife cooked so much food for everybody. So, we couldn't sleep because, you're just so gassed up on the adrenaline surge. And I only worked one match. I couldn't, I mean, if I'd have done your load, I probably would have fell asleep. But we're watching everybody's stuff back because he taped it for us in the crowds. I'm sitting there watching it back, and we're on the porch. And we're like, man, where's Emery at? Where's Emery? And he's like, dude, I think he's just hitting the road. He's got another show. And then that's when his light bulb went up because I bet you that guy's got an Adderall prescription or something he's not telling anybody about. That guy, there's got to be some help in there somewhere. I'm like, I don't know, man. I said, I think he's just custom made for this life that we're trying to live right now. So.
No, no Adderall, man. It's so, talking about, him being a great promoter. So the only person to ever pay me more than what he's paid me to wrestle is Tony Khan.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's a high bar there.
he paid me well, and I remember when we were doing those interviews, I remember thinking, like, because I'm sitting there, we're doing all of our interviews, and it's getting late, and I remember just thinking, like, I was just calculating everything in my head, like, all right, if I go to the Airbnb, I can sleep for a few hours, and then hit the road like super early, and then it kept getting later, and I was like, well, the Airbnb is like 20 minutes away from the building. If I sleep, I feel like it's going to only slow me down. So then it got to the point, because I got there so late, I was just like, you know what, I'm I'm heading up to South Carolina. I'm going, and that trip, it was that trip up. That night, I ended up getting so tired, I had to pull over, but if I could have stayed awake, man, I would have headed all the way up to South Carolina.
Oh yeah, and that's kind of like like what we're doing right here when wrestlers are hanging out outside of work. We're just that's kind of like your bragging rights there. It's like what's the longest haul you've done? 12 hours. You sleep? No, I didn't have to. Oh, okay,
Right, right.
okay. Respect,
Yeah,
respect.
yeah, yeah. You don't sell it if it's like, oh, how long? Only 8 hours. Like, that's it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no. I guarantee it, because I had to make that trip by myself, man. If I would have had somebody in the car with me, another guy to talk to, I would have made that. I would have made it all
Oh
the way
yeah,
up.
for sure. Like you said, 3-4 hours to us is nothing. And
Yeah,
there's a spot in Mississippi that they're actually in the magazine, guys. Battle Zone Championship Wrestling. Their schedules in the back of the book, so be sure you find those dates, all you fans out there. But I have a lot of consistent work over there with Battle Zone, and they're about 3.5 for me. And the
yeah,
promoter a lot of times will feel he's like, man, I just I'm paying you your fee, but are you sure you don't need this? I mean, you sure you don't need a hotel? You sure you don't need to come stay in my guest house or anything? And I'm like, dude, it's 3 hours. That's like running to Walmart for us. I mean,
yeah.
especially when your buddy's in the car, because then it feels like an hour. You know,
Right.
and I'm the
Yeah,
kind of guy. I only take the hotel if I know I need it because it doesn't happen every day. Don't burn up all your chances,
mm,
when you really don't need it. Plus, there's not a whole lot to do in Mendenhall, Mississippi the next day. You might as well just go on home, dude, and be in your own bed.
right.
Now I am going to be working a show in April in Las Vegas, and that's going to be one where it's like, that's when wrestling turns into like a vacation as well.
Are you flying or are you driving to that?
Oh, definitely flying that one, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, not driving that one.
What promotion is that?
Well, so it's for something called the Level Up Expo, and
Okay.
I don't believe it's an actual promotion tied to it. If it is, it's multiple, but it's kind of like one of those. Everybody comes together. There's going to be some scouts out there, but a
Cool, man.
whole lot of people because it's not the Comic Con like that particular con, but it is a con. And
Right.
anime, comics, video games, and those
Cool.
worlds go hand in hand with wrestling.
Yeah.
So very excited for that. It's going to be my first ever expo show. So yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Congrats.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Have you ever done anything like that? You ever done like any kind of convention show or something?
Uh, well, I remember I did one in Raleigh. It was, I'm not sure what kind of convention it was. Um, but I remember we had our wrestling ring, like, it was, right in the middle of it, and you had people like dressed up as different things. So, like, I remember, just walking to the ring, like, through the expo. I just had my wrestling trunks on, and my boots, and, like, nobody looked at me weird because I looked like I just fit in because everybody was kind of dressed weird.
Yeah.
And we did that, did the match. And those are kind of weird things to do because you'll have people just walking by, and, like, you'll have a crowd, usually, like, standing around the ring, to watch, and then you'll have people in the background kind of like watching. And the goal should be, hey, let's get all those people just walking by to like stop and look, and hopefully they'll gather on. So those are ones you can tell, like, all right, so who's having, who are the better workers. You'll have a match where like everybody's surrounding the ring watching it. And then the next match, if it's not so good, you might have a few people walk off, and other people are like, because there's so many things to do.
Yeah, exactly. Spot shows, really, where
Yeah.
you're not really worried about, and I've had guys in the back at spot shows like that. I've done one at a car show in Shreveport, Louisiana, which was a spot I was telling you that one of the few places in Louisiana that's always had amateur wrestling and stuff, kind of more northeast. Big, beautiful convention halls up there, man. That's one of our bigger, more hustle bustle cities in Louisiana, and man, just pretty cars. They had a little bit of music, a little bit of everything, and it was a weekend long thing. And the other cowboy I told you about, Jeremy Young, he promoted that show and put it on and booked me on it. Booked some other guys that I'm good friends with, and so we hopped in the car, took off, and we ended up getting hotel rooms at a casino, and again, fun trip in and of itself. But again, that was a thing. People are here to see cars. The wrestling is kind of a bonus, and not just that, but they were also there to see the legends that were there, that were doing Q&As, meet and greets, autographs. Yeah. So the legends would do what they could to tell people, like, hey, y'all don't go anywhere. Y'all watch these matches. They're getting ready to start. And they're like, okay, well, are you going to be in the match, Mr. Buff Bagwell? And, of course, Buff Bagwell's on a knee scooter, because, one of his knees is completely shot. And he was just like, oh, no, brother, I'm sorry, but I'm going to be here watching. They're just like, oh, okay.
Right.
And that's kind of how that goes. But, I've had guys in the back at shows like that just kind of get a little prima donna-y over like, well, so like this story I'm doing with this guy, me and him need to work each other because we're building a feud at our place. And I'm like, nobody here is going to care.
No. Yeah, when you get to like a spot show, man, like, I think it, like, actually yesterday I was in Raleigh or Chapel Hill, North Carolina at a spot show. It was at a brewery.
Those are fun.
Those people weren't wrestling fans. So I remember, and I wrestled in a tag match against a couple of guys called the Blockbusters, and they're from the United Kingdom.
Oh, wow.
Great workers, great wrestlers. And we kind of all agreed, like, look, we don't really know what they want. So when we get out there, we'll kind of like feel the type of thing they want. And that particular crowd, they weren't wrestling fans. They kind of liked a little bit of comedy. So, we did a couple things that, as the baby faces, we outsmarted the heels and made them look dumb, and they laughed at them. That, that type of thing. And that's the type of, I heard some of the guys in the back, just calling everything, in the back. And I'm just like, hey, look, you can't go out there and have this big technical match because those people might not react. What if you get out there and you do a few things and they don't react to it? You got to be able to change and say, all right, they're not reacting. Let's change it up.
Yeah.
You got to be able, to be flexible and, good enough to, change it like that.
Absolutely. That is the true art of pro wrestling there.
Absolutely.
Is my trainer, Dapper Dan, and I'm sure your trainer, Arn Anderson's probably told you something similar to this, but a true pro wrestler should be able to show up to the venue, find out who he's working, not talk about a thing, and then just go out there and do it.
Yep. And you don't have to go to the guy and say, what's the finish? The booker should say, all right, should go to both of you guys. This is the finish. You guys, you should be able to go out there without even talking to the guy and being able to put on.
Yeah, I mean, probably the only thing I'll ask a guy, like if I'm working a 3 to 5 year guy that's, knows their way around, the only thing I'll ask is like, do you have a finishing move? And they'll be like, swinging neck breaker. Like, all right, you're going over. I'll set you up for it. And and when I'm ready to go home, I'll just be like, hey, we're going home. Give it to me. And then you find a way to hit it,
Yeah.
And those are some of the best ones for me to watch back because I'll just sit there and just be like, wow, man, we did that, and then I'll have
more when you do a match like that, or I can tell watching when a match is done like that, they look more fluid. You know, they're more fluent. They're not as choreographed, and they just look more crisp and real. Um, it's funny. I had a match with George South um, this past Saturday, and he's big on his gimmick table. And we were the first match of the show because I was actually after that match, I actually left and went to another show. I was double shotting, but I was literally, I was all oiled up and ready to go out there. Like 2 minutes before my music, that's when he finally comes back. And he says, "Chase, how you doing?" I said, "Good. Looking forward to it." And then my music hit, and I went out there and we wrestled for 15, 20 minutes.
There you go. Yeah, and I've my normal co-host. He kind of, he big leagued both of us on this one. But Manu, he's actually been working a lot here lately, shoot job wise. So he needed to catch up on some sleep. But he told me one time in a past episode actually, he told me that he had the belt for a place in Texas, and they got just hung up with flight delays and traffic, and so they keep pushing it back, and finally it gets to the point where you just can't push it back anymore. So they're like, "All right, are you dressed?" And he's like, "Yeah, I can get dressed in the car." So he's and keep in mind, 400 something pound man. So he's back there moving around, getting his stuff on. So he pulls up to the venue and he just walks from the parking lot straight in, and his music's playing. Like, I mean, that's how tight we've cut it, and can't help it. So they're just like, "All right, go in there. You're going over, and you got 15 minutes. Go." And he's like, "Okay." He doesn't even know he's working. Walks in, it's Michael P.S. Hayes. Michael P.S. Hayes has already come out with the free bird gimmick. He's already got the coda, and this was actually Michael's last match, one of his very few last, one of his last matches before he went on to WWE to be, what he was there. So one of his last indie appearances, really. And dude, they get in there and tie up, and they're going back and forth, bring each other to the corner. And he said the whole time we're shoving and pushing, Michael's going, "Damn, kid, where you been?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah, flight got delayed." "Oh, yeah. Who'd you fly with?" "Yeah, American Airlines." "That sucks, man." And he throws him in a headlock. He's like, "Well, I tell you what, man, there's a limo outside. We're all going to go out after this. How you feel about that,
Oh, that's hilarious.
And you do all your catching up with each other while you're working. And I'm like, there you go. Yeah, I mean,
I always love it, when older wrestlers will tell me, they're like, "Yeah, man, there's so many times back in the day when we had separate locker rooms, you'd lock up with the guy and say, 'Hey, man, I'm so and so,' and then say, 'Oh, how you doing? I'm so and so,' and then they start wrestling."
yeah. Anything you want to do? I got really cool arm drags. Okay, yeah, go ahead, get one in. Let's go. Bow. And
Right.
that's only guys like us that are in that elite fraternity that I consider it. We
Yeah.
have those memories that nobody else can take from us. It's
Right.
pretty neat stuff there. Well, Chase, tell us what is next for Chase Emery. Where are you going?
So this weekend, I'm up in Virginia for a promotion called Mid Atlantic Territory. They're
Sweet.
in Yorktown, Virginia, which is out on the coast of Virginia. Um, the promoter, his name is Preston Quinn. That's actually Preston Quinn's the guy. Um, that's how Norm actually got my contact, because him and Preston actually know each other, and Preston recommended me to go down there. Um, they're going to be there this weekend. Next weekend, the next one, November 16th, I'm in Madison, West Virginia, wrestling Ricky Morton,
Awesome.
one Rock and Roll Express, and his son Kerry Morton in a tag match for a promotion called All Star Wrestling. Gary Dameron's the promoter, and
I've
then
actually All Star Wrestling is in our. They're in the first issue of Southern Wrestling HTN.
awesome,
Solid talent that they bring in, man. They spare no expense there. They bring in plenty of ex TV guys.
oh yeah,
I think Brian Myers. I could be getting it wrong here, but I think the photo spread that we have from them from last summer, I think Brian Myers was in on that one, and Kurt Hawkins for all you old WWE fans, and
yeah,
Brock, your workout buddy Brock has been up there with Papa Arn.
yeah.
And it's cool that you mentioned the Mortons because Kerry Morton and his other tag partner, along with Ricky as their manager, they are the current 2024 NWA Crockett Cup champions right now. They won the cup. So dude, it looks like you are really not just getting your reps in, but very high quality reps here, my friend.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm trying, wrestling people that been doing it longer than me, have more experience, and um, not only trying to beat them, but learn from them, that type of thing.
There you go. I mean, you got to get the win.
Right.
We want to get a win here, but
Yeah, we about that.
how many titles do you think you've held so far?
Oh man, when I like my in 2022, man, I had like 5 or 6 local like promotions, like heavyweight belt. I remember I kind of felt bad because one promotion I had it like half a year, but only defended it like 2 times. They ran twice a month,
Wow.
and I could barely make it because I was booked to other promotions and promotions I had titles at. So I'd like, sorry, I can't make this one. I'll be at the next. I got to defend this belt over here, and then eventually got there and like dropped it. But you know, I recently held. I don't hold any belts right now. I don't think. No, I don't.
Had to
But I
think
have.
about it for a minute.
Well, there's some promoters like they want me to take the belt home, and most of the time I'm just like, hey, I'll leave this here because if something happens, I don't see you, or I want you to have your belt. Like I don't want to. I'm not a guy that's like I'm taking this belt because I'm the champ. It's your belt. But some promoters are like, no, you take it, and you want to do like a promo video at your house with it. That's fine. I'm like, sure. Because I was thinking if I hold any belts for any promoters, that they keep, but I don't think I hold anything right now. I recently, dropped a belt about a month ago, but I don't know. I probably 10 or so more promotions I've had their heavyweight championship.
There you go. Yeah. With where I'm at down here, it's Louisiana is kind of really a bit of a dry spell.
Mhm.
UWE, the one that trained me, we kind of had a slow year, but not really our fault. It's just kind of the landscape down here is pretty difficult because not only are we a commission state, so there's
Right.
red tape there, but it's also a thing of in the ghost of wrestling past is we're paying for the sins of people from and I don't even have names to throw out there. Just things that have gone wrong in the '90s and '80s and early 2000s. Liability, venues getting torn up, fights happening in the parking lot, dressing rooms getting destroyed.
Yeah.
People are really gun shy about it. So you kind of really gotta earn the trust of these towns and stuff. And then once you get your territory route going, it lasted us about 3 years, and torches change hands. New management comes in. They want something else. They say, okay, well that drew. Now let's try this. And so
Right.
so then you have to build a new territory route there for yourself. So Louisiana in the central part, kind of a dry spell. So we don't have as much opportunity to work as frequently. So, but that being said, once you can get your name, and Texas, like I said, it's the Wild West, but again, that's a bit of a proving ground.
Yeah.
Why would I book a guy from Louisiana that I have to pay when I could just get a guy right down the street?
Absolutely.
So it's once you start carving a niche in there, then I've held the UWE tag title before. I've held the Battle Zone tag title with the Gatekeeper, and so far that's where we're sitting, 2 belts.
Cool.
And what's funny here is it's I think it's hilarious. Some of my friends got mad. They were like, "Oh man, you're getting buried." I'm like, I am not. I had fun with it, but we go to Battle Zone at the last show they had. We're healing it up, man. Just really sticking the business to them, and they had this really over football-esque tag team called the Varsity. And it was almost getting to the point where we were kind of turning baby because of scheduling conflicts and stuff, they had to keep pushing the match. So now they're like, oh, yeah, them boys are scared of y'all. And all. I'm like, all right, guys, y'all need to come in because we're starting to turn. So they came in. We beat them in the first match of the show and take the belts off of them. I'm in there with the branding iron. I stick it to one of them, brand him real good, and I'm just like, I told you. And, of course, I was like, you see these titles? They're going to stay with us for a while, a long, long while. And albeit, then here come two more baby faces that are number one contender. We brawl out. Commissioner's like, all right, tell you what, since you want to beat people up after you match, how about y'all just defend them later? And we're like, what? We come out there later in the night, we drop them in the main. So I think we were champs for a good maybe an hour, 55 minutes. Yeah, an hour's being generous.
Right. The last belt I dropped, man, we did like a Survivor Series match.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like a 10-man tag. We had five, two 5-man teams, and I remember I was on the bad side, let's just say, and we end up winning the match, but they had a gimmick in the promotion where one of the guys on the team who got eliminated earlier, who's like one of the top guys, he had a contract saying anytime, any place. So after the match, he comes in, he cashes that in and beats me in 8 seconds for the belt.
Oh my.
So it's, that stuff's fun. It's kind of funny and it's fun to me. I don't mind being on that receiving end of it.
Well, yeah, like I say, come on, man. You're giving the fans what they want to see.
Right.
You're sending the fans home happy, and that's what we do. We entertain, we fight, but we also entertain.
I wrestle for the people, man. I'm not a guy that's going to be like, well, I'm wrestling matches the way I like matches. No, I wrestle for the people.
Yep, there you go. It's what can I do to add to the show? Whereas there's plenty of guys that are well, I'm in it for me, and if you're one of those guys, you're not going to last long. You're maybe going to last about 3 years, and then when the fans start forgetting about you, then that's it. Because good luck keeping good standings with a promoter thinking like that.
Right.
But so we know where you're going next. What's the big goals here? Where would Chase Emery like to wind up within the next year?
Oh man, in the next year, man, what I really want to do as a goal of mine is get overseas somewhere.
Yes.
Whether that's Europe or Japan, just somewhere overseas where I can, not only learn more wrestling and wrestle different people, but just see new places on earth, just see new things, experience stuff, live life. That's what I want to do. So that's probably like a short-term goal.
Are you thinking maybe Europe, Japan? If you had a preference?
I would like to go to Europe because, man, those guys I wrestled yesterday, the Blockbusters, they're in America for a couple more weeks and they're going back over to home. But, dude, they were so good. Like, if there's more guys like that over there, I'd love to go over there and have, wrestle more people like them. I don't think it'd be too much of a cultural shock and change versus like Japan. That would be a really cultural shock, I think.
Yeah, but I have heard from some really top guys in Texas, Tamaku, Ryan Davis, and guys like that. They've told me, man, Japan's the Letterman jacket of pro wrestling. Though, if you've been to Japan, you got the varsity patch right there. And that's always been a high water mark for me. And Cowboys historically have gotten over very well in Japan.
Oh yeah.
You look at Stan Hansen. You look at Bam Bam Terry Gordy. He wasn't necessarily a cowboy, but he had the Texas flair going for him. God rest his soul, David Von Erich. He sadly, that's where he passed away at. But man, he was so over there. So
Yeah.
I think my odds of getting over there one day. Me, I'm kind of a little hard on myself, but I think we all are. You're your
Oh, yeah.
biggest critic. It's 2024 now. I think I'll have a solid shot at getting Oriental when we get to 2026.
Awesome, man.
I'm gonna give myself another year of getting those road miles in, but
Yeah.
but I'm kind of like you when it comes. You've heard me talk about my crazy experiences on the road and stuff. I love doing this because, man, there's no better vacation than
No.
going somewhere else. And, I'm going to Vegas in April. I've been to Florida several times, as far away from home as I can get. Let's go eat somewhere we don't have down here. Let's
Right.
go check out this local attraction, while we're here. Somebody might recognize us. You never know.
Mhm.
So, yeah, man, that's really, really live life to the fullest there. I think we're both going to have some really cool stories to tell when we're all old and beat up and
Right.
sitting in a wheelchair somewhere running a wrestling school from the back. Yeah, kid, get in there and do all the high spots. So,
Right. Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We'll have some stories to tell.
so yeah, is that something you've maybe given some thought to? Do you think you're always going to be in the business in some capacity like that?
Oh man, I've never had anybody ask me that. I think so. I think once my run is over, because let's be honest, all of us are our career is just a run. Like
Yeah.
we all have a run. So once my run's done, who knows? Depending on how far I go, maybe I'm doing something for a bigger promotion, or maybe I'm just old Chase Emery, helping out at a local promotion down the street, and that's my only time in the business. Probably, or maybe, and unless something happens, I think I'll always have something in it.
Absolutely. And that's kind of, I could kind of tell after year one. I was like, oh yeah, I'm bit by the bug hard, and there's no
Yeah,
antidote. So, that's a personal goal of mine is that WWE, TNA, something like that. If that were to come along, absolutely yes. But if I can just gather up a following, get some fame wherever I can, and then just have a credible enough career to where I can pass that on, maybe start a school or inherit a school. Yeah, it's going to be too hard to walk away at this point. You just can't
right.
do it. But yeah, man. Well, look, thank you so much for taking some time out of your super busy schedule, my friend.
No
Really
problem.
appreciate it. And
Yeah, man.
and take this however you want. Friendly competition. But one of these days, Cowboy Cliff Rogers and Chase Emery, we're going to get in there and we're going to tear the house down, my friend.
Oh yeah.
We need a match together.
Trust me, I've been wanting to get to Louisiana or Mississippi, somewhere over there. I've never wrestled in those two states, so
Well, I've never been to the Carolinas, so
oh,
so I
my-
might come to you, you might come to me, or we might meet in the middle somewhere in Kentucky or something like that.
yeah, we might have to do one in one state and have a rematch in the other.
Hey, Norm Kaiser, you watching this? Next
Right?
Ultimate Victory tape. There's your match right there.
Yeah.
But hey, man, look, best of luck to you, my friend. Stay healthy, because if anyone's going to put you on the shelf, it's going to be me. All right.
That's right.
So, hey, man, thank you so much. And remember, guys, Southern Wrestling Hot Topics and News Magazine, issue 1. It's a quarterly thing. Fall 2024 issue is available now. Amazon Prime, Amazon Kindle store. And the winter issue will be hitting the digital shelves come January. Y'all have a good one out there.